Let me start by saying that the Scandinavian wine market is not just one market. There are at least two markets: Denmark without any monopoly, and Sweden and Norway with the monopoly situation. They are very different in terms of importers, in terms of patterns of consumption, and in terms of sales structure. There are also some differences definitely between Sweden and Norway, but they are much more alike. And today I will focus on Sweden, which is the country and the market that I know best, but much of it will definitely apply also for Norway. Although they are different markets, they have something in common. For example, the consumers in the Scandinavian markets are in general rather knowledgeable. They know a lot about wine, and they're curious consumers. They change habits, they want to try something new, and they are not very traditional wine drinkers. Another thing in common, which is very important for you to realize, is of course the high alcohol taxes. They are between €1 and 42 cents per liter of wine in Denmark, until €2 and 35 cents per liter of wine in Sweden. Let me start by giving just a brief introduction to the two different markets. Denmark. Denmark is Scandinavia's free wine market, so to speak, without any monopoly. It's a small country, which means that in total we are speaking about small volumes. But wine is very popular and the consumption is high. It's more than 30 liters of wine per capita per year, which is quite a lot if you compare with other Northern European countries. It's a market dominated by red wine. In Denmark we don't have as precise statistics as in the monopoly countries, but more or less 80% of the wine consumption is red wine. The share of bag-in-box is increasing. Today it's probably around 20 to 25% of the market volume-wise. If you look at the leaders in the market, France is no longer a certain number one. Today we have Chile, Italy and France as the three market leaders, very close to each other, with about 14 to 16% of the market each. So Italian wine is definitely very, very well known and very popular in general in Denmark. What is interesting and particular about Denmark is the high number of importers. We have many, many small importers, more than 1,500, and if you look at the number of people here, this could be a world record. It's a market in Denmark where you can find almost any type of wine. All the wine countries are represented, and you can find almost any top wine from the world in the Danish market. Not in big volumes, but someone has it somewhere. But of course, looking at the normal retail market, the supermarkets are very dominant. About 80% of the market, of the volume, is sold in the supermarket chains. Sweden has, of course, a retail monopoly. So all sales to private people is going through the state shops called Systembolaget. But no monopoly exists on import, and no monopoly exists on the sales to restaurants. There's less consumption of wine per capita compared with Denmark, but you have the double amount of people, so volume-wise Sweden is an interesting market. Also because the wines selling well in Sweden, they sell a lot. It's a bigger market share for single brands than in Denmark. It's not, as in Denmark, a very red wine dominated market. 66% of the sales are red wines. What is interesting is that only a little more than 1/3, 36% in 2011, was sold in bottle. The rest is bag-in-box or Tetra Pak, so that's a very high share. Italy is the market leader in Sweden in 2011 with 20% of the market. They lead before South Africa, Australia and Spain. You have much fewer importers in Sweden, although the number is increasing every year. That means that you have less different wines, not so many different wines from so many areas, from so many producers that you have in Denmark. If I should come with some suggestions for how to perform well in the two markets, I would say for both of them, of course, it depends very much on what kind of wine you want to sell. Let's look at Denmark first. The thing is with Denmark that it's relatively easy to find an importer. It's difficult though to sell a lot. If you want to sell volume, you should try to get in direct touch with the big importers. Take the discussion directly with them, and you must be willing to talk prices. As an example, very recently I was in Sicily. I tasted wines together with Danish and Swedish and Norwegian wine importers. They liked the wines. All of them more or less liked the wines. They found them interesting. They wanted to introduce them in the Scandinavian market. But they also said, all of them, that the prices asked were about the double what they could and would pay. So the price issue is very important because of the high taxes. A very, very big share of the wines in Denmark are sold at prices 4 to 4.5 euro. And if you consider tax, transport, the retail profit, etc., that means that there's 1 euro to 1 euro and 50 cents for you for each bottle of wine. If you have less quantity and more expensive wines, the issue of course is to find the right smaller importer for you. Many of the Danish importers, they sell to restaurants, but they also sell directly to private people through the internet. I think you have to travel here to get in contact with those people. That would be my recommendations. You have to meet the people and to discuss the matters directly. You should look up which fairs you can attend. You should look into the possibilities for B2B meetings. It's common that small groups of people coming from Campania, Sicily or anywhere else in Italy, they come here, they make B2B meetings. And I think that's the way to go ahead if you're a smaller company or you focus a lot on high-end wines. In Sweden, the situation is the opposite. It's rather difficult to find an importer, but once you do and you're in the market, the chance of selling a lot is very good. It is of course difficult to get into the shops of the monopoly and to win the tenders, but when you do, and when you're in, you sell a lot. The two best-selling Montepulciano d'Abruzzos in Sweden, and they sell a lot, they have been here in the market, in the shops of the monopoly since 1995. So they have had great success. Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, in fact, is one of the 2 to 3 best-selling DOC wines right now in Sweden, if you look at the 6 to 9 euro range retail price. But half of this volume for all Montepulciano d'Abruzzos DOCs is divided onto only 4 different wines. So 4 different Montepulciano d'Abruzzo wines are behind 50% of the total of the Montepulciano d'Abruzzo sales in Sweden. You must be willing to have a narrow communication and negotiation with the importer in Sweden. Now, today, it's very common that the importers want to come down. They want to give advice on the wine, how it should be, how you could change it. Maybe they want a special wine just for Sweden. You should consider bag-in-box. You should consider screw caps. These issues are very important today in Sweden. Also, things like fair trade and sustainability are very important issues right now in Sweden. But also in the other Nordic monopoly countries, there's now a code of conduct that all monopoly countries has to follow, and this is you will have, as a wine producer, a great advantage if you work with fair trade production, ecological production, and sustainability. Meeting with the responsible at Systembolaget at the monopoly, the responsible person for Italy, is also rather important. If you have less volume, more expensive wines, I think it's the same thing as in Denmark. In Sweden, you have to come here, you have to attend fairs, you have to make direct contact with small importers through fairs and things like that to find the right person. Let me finish by just saying a little bit about the media. In each country, you have 3 to 4 big regional or national newspapers, and they are rather important if we talk about volume wines, the cheaper wines, but it's very difficult to make the influence directly from you. The influence almost always comes through the importer. So if you're in the market, media coverage do have some significance, especially in Sweden, because here the media focus very much on what exactly is on sale in the monopoly next month or so. In Denmark, the media are less important, because the leaflets from the supermarkets telling people what is on offer next week, they are very important, and they decide very much which wines are going to be sold. If you're not in the market, it could have some impact to contact the specialized press, and through the press get the attention of the importers. My recommendation would be to use the money not on advertising for the whole region or for certain DOC vines. These advertising directly to the consumers, I'm not sure that's the best way to go ahead. I think you should use the money to help producers getting importers, help them to travel here, help them to attend fairs, help them to arrange B2B meetings. For Sweden and Norway, you should help them to understand the system, the tender system. I think you should invite down 3 or 4 importers to do a workshop and to see how the tender system works. I think you should use money for that, and maybe then at the end also use some money to have some media coverage in the specialized wine price by inviting down journalists, for example. Okay, I hope that you got some useful information here. Un saluto a tutti, arrivederci.